I'm joined today by our CEO, Laura Meyer, to talk about why Envision Horizons is anything but your typical agency. Laura, for those who may not know us yet, how would you describe what makes Envision Horizons stand out?
Well, first, I think it's important to call out that I'm not from the agency industry. When I started this business in 2017, I came from Amazon and the ad tech world. So I had a very different approach in how I wanted to build this business. So, first of all, it was always envisioned, pun intended, I know, to be a tech enabled business. And so we really want to bring on team members who are excited by that. They love data, they love learning. And that's really what we're looking to foster here. And most importantly, we are also a performance culture. So, team members who do really excellent work here, we're not afraid or shy to financially compensate for that. And I think that's a big difference compared to the traditional agency model, which is high paying executives. And then there are the hands on keyboard people who have, quite frankly, lower salaries. That's not what we're looking to do here. And yes, everything is not financially motivated. We obviously want a team where you enjoy who you're working with, you enjoy the clients and the projects that you are a part of. And that's also why we're very selective in the clients that we bring on. Our business development team is trained and also incentivized to make sure we're bringing on clients that are going to be with us. And if there are red flags in those initial conversations, we are established enough at this point where we don't need that business. And we have a saying, and I even repeat it and I live it out in life, which is that if we don't wanna have dinner with that prospect, they're not the right client for us. And this is quite literally how we do business because we throw dinners often and we invite those people, we invite those clients, and we invite the team to these very special moments.
Wonderful. We get asked a lot in the interview process, what's the work style like? What does it really mean when we say that we're remote first, always, and never isolated?
Slack is a very vital tool and I think is really key to the importance of having a remote culture that is still engaged. So, yes, we are remote. We also have a core value of get it done. And get it done is not about just showing up for a 9 to 5. That's not our culture. In fact, I'm a mom of two. I have a 4 year old and a 2 year old. I do not work a traditional timeline. I drop my daughter off at school at 9 a.m. I come back and I work, and then I sign off at 5 so I can be with my children for dinner and those bedtimes. And then if there is still work to be done after hours, I will, revisit my work afterwards. But it's really about shaping your workday to fit your lifestyle, either whether that's your hobbies, you're a parent, it doesn't matter as long as you're meeting expectations. That's the biggest thing. We believe in hiring really smart professionals who are going to do great work, and it's not about the hours logged.
Wonderful. And you mentioned the Slack piece. What do you think makes us special in terms of how we stay connected as a team globally?
So we are very active on our Slack groups. And we also make an effort to have different touch points throughout the week, month, and quarter. Whether it is our client services war room where everyone gets on, they share learnings from the prior 2 weeks and collectively troubleshoot. We have our silly Slack channels, which I know is not original. Many businesses have that, but it's the fact that people actually engage with it that is so special. And then I also have office hours that anyone can join twice a week. So having everyone within the company accessible and that there isn't this level of intimidation or that my idea isn't important. I never want anyone to feel like their opinion doesn't matter or that they're unheard. I like to follow a concept, which is that those who have the influence to drive change within a company don't always have the details to really make the right decision. Whereas those who are in the details don't always have that authority. And I really strive to bridge that gap. And speaking very candidly, this is a different culture than very big corporate companies, but even smaller startups. And we really work in our onboarding of new talent to empower them to know that that is not just a saying, but that is something that we truly and actively want to practice.
Wonderful. Growth is a huge part of the Envision Horizons story. What kind of opportunities can new team members expect, in the years ahead?
Well, that's in partnership with you, Courtney, which is making sure that we, number one, understand what people are motivated by. A question I often ask in interviews is, are you someone who really wants to be more of an independent contributor and grow in your career that way? Or do you want to be managing people? Because I think there's a false misunderstanding that you have to manage people to grow in your career. Whereas I think you can build a extremely successful career and not necessarily have to manage people, which is why, to give the example of our account management team, we have multiple paths that they can grow into. If you start with us as an account manager, you can go the trajectory of independent contributor, meaning you can go senior and then enterprise account manager. You have the same earning potential due to our structure as an account director who's actually managing a team. So I always think it's about the value you're bringing to the business, whether it's to those who report into you or the size of business you're engaging with for your clients.
And on the growth side as a business, how is Envision Horizons growing right now and what are our visions for the future?
There's a lot happening and it's all really exciting. So we are up quite a bit this year. I guess I will share our July numbers. We're up 103% from
Wow.
last year. So there's growing in revenue, but there's also growing in improved metrics in terms of our retention. So for contract renewals in the first half of the year, we had a nearly 90% renewal of our clients,
Amazing.
which is fantastic. And then we are expanding into new services. And the new service growth is exciting because now you can learn a new skill set and you talk about growth within your career. Well, if there's a new line of service that we are rolling out, that could be another way to either laterally or diagonally move in your career. And then finally, we are really looking at making this a global agency. So while it's exciting, we're going beyond just Amazon and we have our affiliate division and we're looking at these other retail media networks and marketplaces such as Ulta, Target, Walmart. We're also looking over at Europe and what we can do there, as well as what the expansion will be beyond that in years to come.
Awesome. Very exciting. Collaboration is one of our favorite words. What does that look like day to day at Envision Horizons?
To me, real collaboration cannot happen if there's egos. So that also goes back to our core value of having humility. And a big part of humility is listening. You can have a lot of great ideas, but if you're the only one talking, that is not collaboration. And so, really facilitating an environment where that can happen, where it is uplifting, and also setting realistic expectations. And I think that's a big part of being heard as well is I will have team members come to my office hours with fantastic ideas. And I'm very upfront saying, I love this idea. But just so you're aware, we have these other initiatives going on, but I'm going to add this to our list of things that we want to revisit at the end of the quarter because most things can't be followed through on if you have too much going on. So we always like to remain focused.
Wonderful. As a remote first company, how do we nurture community and inclusion?
Again, I think that's a good question for you too to touch on. So I'd love for you to maybe follow up to my response. But
Sure.
again, it's about not having egos. It's about being accessible no matter your title or level. And just really trying to facilitate a safe space.
Yeah.
And we are actively working on ways to build more in-person experiences. Being remote, there is always that juggle or balance. So having many meetups of those in Chicago and those in New York, and really taking advantage of when people are in the same city, let's all get together.
Yeah. And I think that the thing we're trying to expand on right now is what are those virtual moments where we can get to know each other as colleagues, as well as just humans,
Yeah.
and celebrate local cultural moments that might be happening, holidays, having more quarterly in person events if we can. But if not, virtual, what does that look like? But celebrating each person's unique, contributions both within the business as well as in their communities. I always like to highlight our Team Life channel because that's where we can see people in and outside the office, so to speak. And people really engage with that channel to show who they are outside of the workplace, which is great.
There's nothing that makes me more excited than seeing people share their hobbies on the Team Life channel. Whether like we have some crazy athletes on the team, but then also seeing people's accomplishments in other areas. I think it's so important to have balance in life, and balance is not possible to achieve at all times, but to have hobbies and interest outside of your work, it only makes you a better professional.
Absolutely. If you had to share one piece of advice for somebody who's considering Envision Horizons, as well as other maybe competitor agencies, what do you think is the thing that stands out the most about Envision Horizons?
I know a lot of candidates come through and they say they want to have impact on the business itself. And I will say we have our ways of working, but we are very open to listening and acting on if something needs to change. And I always like to say a business as an individual, the work on improving is never done and that you always are on that journey. And a lot of that growth comes from listening.
Wonderful. If you're looking for a place where you can do meaningful work, be a part of a supportive, high performing team, and actually enjoy the journey, join us at Envision Horizons.